Let's talk about creating our own harmonica licks. I'm playing a C harmonica in second position, so that puts us in the key of G. Most of the time as players, we kind of grab licks from other people, and that is perfectly fine to do. I know that I do that all the time. I'm sure that everybody's done that. That is pretty much how we learn. But how do we make up things on our own? Instead of memorizing another lick, we can learn how to create them ourselves. What I did in the beginning of the video was I just started with a lick that I just made up. And then what I did is I did some variations on that lick. Basically, I started off simple, then I added a rhythmic variation to it, and then I kind of just added more rhythmic variation, and then I added a little extra note at the end. We might call this lick a phrase, so now we can take that phrase and take it down some different avenues to add some variation to it. There's nothing wrong with just playing notes all over the place. You can go all up and down the harmonica, that's fantastic. I think for this, when we get into thinking about creating our own licks, the first thing that we want to do is start simply. Those licks I did in the beginning, I confined myself to only a couple of notes, to only a couple of holes on the harmonica. What I chose to do in the beginning was I started on the 2-hole, that is the root note in second position. That's a very common place to start a lick from. So I started on that 2 draw, I went straight to the 3 draw, and something that I do all the time, I gave that 3 draw a little qua. I just love the way that sounds, it gives a note a little attitude. After the 3 qua, I went straight to the 4 blow, 4 draw, I did another qua on that 4 draw. Did that 4 draw qua, went right back to the 4 blow, to the 3 draw with a qua, and then I did the 2 draw and I did 2 notes on that. I did a staccato in between those notes. To get that first note staccato, I'm doing a ta-ta, and I'm holding out the second one. But I'm doing that on the inhale, ta-ta. And then when I held out that 2, I gave it a little vibrato at the end. So what I did with this lick is I just took those 4 notes, 2 draw, 3 draw, 4 blow, 4 draw. I went right up them and I went right back down. So those are the notes that I choose to use. And then within those notes, if I just pick a rhythm, well, you know what? Then I have a lick that I made up. I played a certain set of notes with a certain set of rhythm, and that just created a lick. So now I've basically given myself a note palette, and I've given myself a rhythm. So I've got my little phrase. So how can I vary that phrase? Well, one thing I can do is I can use those exact same notes, but I can put a little variation on maybe my rhythm. Maybe I can hold one of the notes longer. That's basically what I did on the second riff. It starts out the same way. We start on the 2 draw, 3 draw with a qua, go to the 4 blow, do the 4 draw, do a qua on that. But what I did is I held that note longer. By holding that note longer, that changes the phrase that I did the first time. So then to keep the whole phrase in time, I have to get back a little bit faster, basically. So I do that 4 draw qua, same thing. I go back to the 4 blow, the 3 draw with the qua, and then I end on the 2 draw twice with that staccato note on the first one. But I had to get back a little faster. So that 4 blow to the 3 draw qua, I just have to fit that in there faster because I held that 4 draw longer. So that gives us a rhythmic change. We still get the same feel of the lick, but it has a slight variation to it. All the notes are exactly the same. I just changed how long I held that 4 draw, and that kind of changed the character of the lick. On lick 3, again, I kept the same notes, but I added a little bit more variation. So right in the beginning, I started with the 2 draw twice, I did a little staccato, and we go right to that 3 draw with a qua. Then we go straight to the 4 blow, to the 4 draw with a qua. This is basically the same rhythm as the second riff, because I get to that 4 draw and I held it longer than I did on the first one. After that qua on the 4 draw, I hit that 4 blow, and I give it a little bit of a staccato at the end. Then we go right back to the 3 draw, do a qua on it. We slide over to that 2, and we do another double staccato hit on that 2 draw. But instead of just holding on that 2-draw and vibratoing it, I held it a little bit and I did a quick little 2-draw bend and I kind of slid over to the 1-draw. It's something that's really quick. It's kind of a little ornamentation that I think about. It's kind of like doing that quad. These are just little things you can put on notes to make it interesting. So that I'm holding that 2-draw, I'm just dropping it down to a whole step bend really quick and then sliding to the 1. I kind of want it to feel like it's just like, the note's like falling off a cliff. That's a great way to take one riff that you made up, and I just very quickly made it into 2 other riffs. They're all very similar, they use the same notes, but they have some variation to them, so they're all usable. I think it's something that's extremely interesting about a harmonica is that we only have so many notes on this. Compared to, let's say, a piano or a guitar, we have a lot less notes to choose from. What we need to do then is be very creative with what we want to do with these notes. Some people could look at that and find it limiting, but I think it's actually a very interesting challenge about, well, how many variations can you come up with this note selection that we have on the harmonica? When you think about writing something, I think limiting yourself to a small amount of notes, it's a really good way not to overwhelm yourself with creating something. I mean, you could think I can go all the way from 1 to 6, and yes, you have all those choices, but there are really amazing things you can do with just a small amount of notes. And when you're trying to write things, if this is something you haven't ever done before, just keep it simple. You don't have to make things complicated. Well, what else could you change? So what if I changed the note order a little bit? Well, what if instead of that 4 blow, I just went back to the 2-draw? Now it's another variation. All I did was change one note. When you're thinking about writing, you might think that you have to change notes all the time. Well, repetition is your friend. There's nothing wrong with repeating things. These are the kind of things that get stuck in our head. This is how music is. I mean, think about when we talk. We say the same phrases all the time. So let's say I keep that same rhythm and I just use 2 notes, the 2-draw and the 3-draw. That was 2 notes. I mean, that's a phrase, that's a lick, only using 2 notes. I basically kept the same rhythm that I did with the original lick, but I just did it with 2 notes. Another thing we could do is we could change the ending note. Instead of ending on the 2-draw, let's end on the 3-draw and see what that sounds like. So that has a really different feel to it. It doesn't really have a strong resolve because we didn't go back to that root note, but that could be very usable. What if I added in a bend? So let's say instead of that 4-draw, if we want to make it bluesier, let's say we do the 4-draw bent down instead of that natural 4-draw. So that right there has a much bluesier feel to it, has a little darkness to it right there. That's the flat 5 when we're playing blues. That completely gives the riff a different character. Let's try to add some more space into the riff and make the whole thing longer. That was just the same notes, but instead when I got to that 4-draw, I added some more space on the 3-draw. So that just makes our timing different. Maybe in the song, wherever we're playing, we would have to start it at a different time because now the phrase is longer. These are all just ways that you can take a riff and vary it. There's basically endless things that you can do to vary something. So what if you take these notes, 2-draw, 3-draw, 4-blow, 4-draw, and you try to make some riffs off of them, right? You could choose a different starting note. Maybe you start on the 3-draw. Maybe you start on the 4-draw and you just go down. There really is no limit to what you can come up with. The idea is that you want to have good timing and you want to have good feel to what you're playing. You want it to be musical. You don't have to use every note on the harmonica to be able to create things. You can create some really wonderful things by using just a small amount of notes. You can use 1 note if you want. You could use 7 notes if you want. It doesn't matter. All we're trying to do is have fun and make music. Relax, have fun, and do that. Make music. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Click here for the next Harmonica Mondays lesson.